In this video, we're going to explore how to call an activity and get a result back from that activity. In previous videos, we've seen how to create a sequence of screens and pass data from one screen to another. Getting data back from an activity is very similar. The screen we're on right now is the GPS of plant screen, and what I want to do is I want to type something like fountain square, which would be a location where I would see a plant. Okay. After that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose select a plant. And with select a plant, what I can do is I can pick a plant, and right now we just have dummy data set up. We'll change that soon enough. I can pick a plant like redbud. I type in redbud on the search screen. Okay. And then the text redbud is going to be passed from the search screen to the results screen. And we see what's happening is we're gathering the data. I'm going to step over this. We're gathering the data that the user has entered. If I highlight search plant name, we're going to see it's redbud, the data that I just entered. We're using this with a PutExtra to put the data into an intent. And then we're calling the next screen by calling startActivity. So I'm going to go ahead and choose play. And on the very next screen, it's going to, we still have it in the debugger here, but on the very next screen, what it's going to do is it's going to show me a list of plants that match my search criteria. In this case, a redbud. Okay. Now, when I click on this at the moment, nothing happens. We want to have it so that I can click on this, and it will actually take us back to the GPS screen. And here's why. One of the biggest values we're going to offer when we have a mobile application is aggregate. And what you see is I've identified about 275 different plants at the zoo with these bullet points, with these markers. You can click on one, and this, for example, is northern catalpa, and then it will take you up to a plant profile of that northern catalpa, oftentimes with pictures where it was GPS'd. So not only do we want to get GPS, but we want to associate it with a plant. And we don't just want to associate it with the word of what a plant is. We want to associate it with the plant and all of its details, not just its name. If I go to Plant GPS, we can see I've GPS plants around the world. With, just hobby and with work, I've been able to travel quite a bit. So if we go, for example, we could go to Birmingham, UK, which is right about in the middle of England. And what we'll see here is that I've GPS'd a lot of plants within the Birmingham Botanical Gardens, probably one of the better botanical gardens I've ever visited, to be honest with you. So this is right about in the middle of England. Once again, each of these bullet points is not just associated with a name, but actually with a plant, and that plant has attributes, characteristics, and pictures. That one's not too good, is it? A little bit blurry. But nonetheless, each plant is associated with details like that. So we want to be able to select the concept of a plant and then associate a GPS location with it. And then eventually we want to be able to upload that GPS location to a website like plantplaces.com, where we can say, not only is this a GPS location, but this is the specific tree or specific plant at that GPS location. So we're aggregating data. We're mixing data together. We're combining data from the phone, which is the GPS data, with other data like data from plants. You see this tulip poplar. It's one of my, just side note, this is one of my favorite trees because it's very easy to identify, and I've identified it all around the world. Several in Birmingham. Let's see, this one I got just recently. I don't remember where. I think I got that one in Paris, as a matter of fact. So in any case, we want to actually draw some relations among different sets of data, and that's where we can add value. So what we want to do is we want to have it so that when we click this Cercis canadensis, it will take us all the way back to that GPS of plant screen, and it will say that we're actually GPSing this Cercis canadensis. At this time, that functionality doesn't exist yet, so we need to make that exist. Let's look at the changes we need. We're going to do it one screen at a time, but let's look at the changes that we need to make that exist. So the search screen, when I hit select a plant, the search screen is the first one where we're going to make changes. I'm going to Control-Shift-R and I'm going to say search plants activity. Okay, and a couple things we want to do. A couple things we want to do first. I'm in the search plants activity. There's something here that I did in our last, let's see, was this guy on create? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong screen. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm going to go back to Java view, and I'm going to click on the right screen. It's advanced search activity. I was in the wrong screen there. Sorry. Okay, there's one thing I did here before that in the last lecture that I don't like very much, and that is when I passed the search criteria. Okay, so we see here I type in pawpaw, or we'll go with redbud. When I pass the search criteria from the search screen to the results screen, I'm associating the data that the user enters in this variable search plant names with a string, and that string is search plant name. Okay. Now in the plant results activity, I'm pulling it back out by search plant name. Okay. Both of those are strings contained with double quotes. But the problem is, what if I misspelled one of them? If I misspelled one, then the data wouldn't transfer properly. Instead of using this, what we have now, which is called a string literal, I'm gonna change it to a constant. And the reason why I'm doing this now is we're gonna want to do this when we pass data in the other direction as well. When we collect data and we're passing it back through the call stack or through the series of screens. So I'm gonna put my cursor in search plant name, hold Control and press 1. And I'm going to choose extract to constant. Okay, what it's going to do is it's going to make a special kind of variable, a variable that I can reference from other screens. One thing is it's going to make it private. I want to change that to public, and that will allow me to access this variable from elsewhere within the program. So you see now it's public. And now instead of a string there, I'm actually using a variable, and the variable is all uppercase. Let me go to plant results. Okay, and once again, I don't like this string. I'm going to take the string away. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to say advanced search activity. Okay, and then I'm going to reference that variable, search plant name. Okay, so that's a bit more solid construction because instead of referring to just a string that happens to be in quotes, I'm referring to an actual variable in both cases. That might seem like, oh, but isn't that the same as what you were just doing? But there is a major advantage to this. If I right-click, I can choose References and then Workspace. And I apologize, I know that's a little bit off the screen. What this is going to do, because I'm associating both to the same variable, it's going to show me everywhere in my project where I'm referencing that variable. Okay, it's going to show me everywhere in the project where I'm referencing the variable search plant name. We know right now there are only two places because we just made them both. But in a large program with a lot of classes, especially classes where we might not have access to source code, that's a very efficient way to figure out who is referencing a certain constant, as we call it. So if I am grabbing data out of an intent by using the constant name, it's going to give me an idea of who is setting the data in that intent, okay, because they're both using the same constant, they're both using the same variable. Okay, now a big change I'm going to want to make on the advanced search activity, the class I'm in right now. Start activity is a fire and forget method. In other words, start this activity and then move on. Okay, start this activity, don't expect anything in return. On the other hand, startActivityFOrResult is a similar method, but what it means is I'm expecting something in return. Now when we call startActivityFOrResult, instead of just calling an intent, we have to call an intent and pass in some kind of unique number. I'm going to make this the number 1, okay? And we're going to make a constant out of that again. So let's see if I can quick fix extract a constant. Okay, I'm going to call this, instead of the number 1, I'm going to call it, we'll give it a variable name. we'll say, let's see, we're going from the search plants to plant results. We'll call it plant results. Okay, we'll just give it a name like that. Why do we have to do that? When we say start activity for result, we have to pass an intent. We also have to pass a constant. Why do we have to do that? Here's why. When we get a result from this activity, it's going to go to a special method called onActivityResult. I can create this method by just saying onAC and then control and space and onActivityResult. Okay, this request code, this plant result, that's going to come back, and onActivityResult is this very first parameter. And why? Well, you see, we could start many activities for result from this screen. Depending on what the user pushed and what the user did, we could start many different activities from this screen. But no matter where we start them, they're all going to come back to this method. And when they come back to this method, we need to know which one is coming back. So this unique identifier, I chose the number 1. It honestly could be any number. The number is insignificant as long as it's unique. This unique number is going to come back in the request code so that we know that, that what we're getting back is a plant result. Okay, we're also going to get a result code, and the result code is going to tell us whether it worked okay or not. And then we're going to get data, which is any data that comes back when the activity returns. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in an if test here. If, let's say, request code equal plant results. So what we're saying is, and I'll put a comment to this effect, are we getting data returned from the, let's see, plant results intent? If so, this if test will evaluate to true because we passed the plant result constant in when we invoked that intent. That'll work. Okay, let's just throw up a toast now. Let's just throw up a toast. This will be just a little confirmation that we have received some data. So I'm going to say toast.makeText. We have to pass it a reference to the current object, which is the keyword this. Text, we're going to say received result. We'll change that to make that more interesting in a little bit. Duration toast dot length long, and then dot show. So this toast will be invoked when we receive a result from plant results intent. How about that? And save. Okay, so we have a call to the plant results, and then we are receiving data back from the plant results. Let's remember what screen we're on. Okay, we're on the screen where we're doing a search. We're on the screen where we're conducting a search. Okay, so if I type in Redbud and then hit search, that's the screen we're on, the screen where we type in Redbud and then hit search. Okay, and here we go. So we got that screen worked out so far. Now what we need to have is when we click on the result, we needed to close the results screen, return back to the search screen, and return the actual plant that we clicked on. So that's the next thing that we need to do. Okay, so we'll save our work so far, and then what we're going to do is go to the plant results screen. The plant results screen, or the plant results activity, extends a list activity. And what that means is it shows data in a list, just as we see here, shows data in a list. Okay, so there's a special method that is invoked when we click on an item in a list. And that special method is OnListItem click. I'll just start typing on LI, hold Control and hit space, and then choose Enter. We'll let Eclipse figure out the work for us. And then I save. Now let's look very carefully at this signature. One of the things we're getting out of here is a position. And the position tells us what position was clicked in the list. Now remember, we set a list adapter in a previous lecture with the setListAdapter method. And by the way, if you're watching this video and you wonder what I mean when I'm talking about a previous lecture, this video is recorded as part of an Android development course. And the videos are in a sequence. I have the videos on a playlist in YouTube. So if you want to see the previous video, just check out the playlist for this video, and you'll see all the previous and the videos I've yet to make that I might make by the time you watch this. Anyway, what I can do is I can get a reference to that list adapter by just saying get list adapter. I start typing, control space, it will autocomplete, it will figure out what I'm trying to do, and then I can say get item, and I can pass in that position, and there we go. Okay, so get list adapter, get item, get the item that the user clicked. Okay, now what I can do is control 1, which is going to give me the option to save this item in a new local variable. Now, it doesn't know what the item is, but it's actually a plant. So what I'm going to do is say plant. I'm going to say a variable of type plant with a capital P. The variable name is going to be plant, and enter. It's going to get a little bit mad because it doesn't know that it's giving me back a plant. So I have to tell it it's giving me back a plant. If you ever see a red line like this, think about control 1. Many times that will give you something that will fix the red line. In this case, we need to do a cast. We need to tell it that it's giving us back a plant by doing this cast. That's just a way that we say, hey, you're about to give me back a plant. Okay, and then we're in good shape. Okay, the next thing that we need to do then is we need to make this plant available to the previous screen. Okay, we can do that by getting access to the intent that called us, and it's not as hard as it sounds. All we need to do is say get I, control space, get intent, we'll let it fill itself out, and then what we can do is we can say PutExtra. Now look carefully at this. When I type in PutExtra, I have a lot of options. Nearly all of the options start with a string. Okay, the string is the first parameter, and then we have another parameter that follows. So the string is some kind of key. We'll make a constant for that, just like we've done before. The string is some kind of key. If we look on the right, though, those are the possible values that we can pass in. So a key value pair or a name value pair. So on the left we have a key. On the right we have the matching value. Okay. The only problem is if you look, there's no matching value that says plant. So we have to take an extra step. Let's put this on hold just a moment. I'm going to comment that out because we never want to leave a red line dangling. I'm going to comment that out. I'm going to control M. I'm going to go to my plant, and I have to make one small change. We have to give this plant object permission to be put into an intent. We have to do something a little bit funny. It's called a marker interface. What we have to do is say public class plant, just as we have now, and then say implements serializable. Okay. And what that means, serializable, Control-Shift-O to organize imports. Hopefully I spelled that right. Okay, good, I did. What serializable means is that you can take this class, you can decompose it to its bytes. In other words, you can decompose it to its zeros and ones. You can write it somewhere, or you can send it somewhere. And then later on you can retrieve it and convert it back from bytes to its original type. It's a long description. That's all that serializable means. Once we do that, we're allowed to go back and finish what we started working on. So we were in plant results activity. Now what I can do is I can say get intent, PutExtra. We're going to need to give it some string. We'll say plant result. That'll be fine. And then we can say plant, the plant that the user picked. So we're going to say put the plant in the intent which we are about to return. Okay, and save. And everything saves, no red lines, that's great. Next thing what we need to do is we need to say set result, and we just need to say that everything worked fine. So we're going to say result okay. Okay, we just say this set result okay, and then we'll say get intent, That'll work. There we go. Result okay? Okay, just say everything went fine. I misspelled something there. And finally, we're going to say finish. Okay. Finish this intent. And we're going to say finish. And what that will do is that will effectively close the screen that we're currently on and return to the prior screen. So we've done a couple changes now. Let me go ahead and make this guy into a constant as well. I'm going to control 1, and we're going to say extract to constant because we know we prefer to work with constants than to work just with kind of random string variables. Okay, plant result is fine. I'm going to change it though to public. Okay, plant result, again, there we're fine. That's good. Okay, that's a lot cleaner. It probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense at this point, but trust me, this is a lot cleaner. So I'm going to save with the Control S, and I'm going to redeploy this app. Okay, I'll choose debug, an Android application. It might take just a minute to load this, so if it does, I'm going to go to pause. I'm going to go ahead and reference the AVD I currently have running, and we'll let this load. Just a moment. Now with the emulator up, take a look at what happens, and this will fall a little bit off screen. One moment. And move this emulator down so we can watch the result. I'm going to click on search, and it's going to hit a breakpoint here, so I'm going to go ahead and play through that breakpoint and come right back to the emulator. One more breakpoint, we'll play, come right back to the emulator. Okay, now in the emulator, we see Cercis canadensis red bud. Again, I'm going to move that just to the top of the screen so you can see the result. When I click, notice that we navigate back. And when we navigate back, we get a message pop up that says received result. Okay, I think we're ready to add a little bit more intelligence to this. So allow me to go to Java View, and I'm going to Control M. And we're going to go to the advanced search screen one more time. Okay. Advanced search activity. And now instead of just saying received result, let's go ahead and print the information about the plant. Okay, so we know that this onActivityResult gets called when we close the results screen and we come back to the search screen. So I'll choose toggle breakpoint here. And now the data getting passed in is going to get passed back to us from the calling intent, is going to get passed in through this third parameter called intent data. So I'm going to say data.get SerializableExtra, and there's that name. Now remember, when we passed the data back from the plant results activity, we used a constant. So if I go to plant results activity, the constant we associated with this value, let me Control M so we can have a little more room here. The constant we associated with this value is plant result. Okay, Alt left arrow takes me back to where I just was. So what I need to do here is say data.get serializable plant results activity dot plant result. There's that constant. Again, we could use a string if we want, but using a variable, using a constant is much more efficient because we're always pointing to a variable. We can do a reference lookup. If we used a string literal, we'd run a risk of misspelling or misspacing or something like that. So data gets serializable extra, and then we pass in the name that we associated with this serializable extra back on our results screen. Okay, we're getting close. We're getting really close. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my mouse cursor on get serializable extra, Control 1, and say assign to new local variable. Now Eclipse doesn't know what we're getting back from this get serializable extra. So I'm going to call it a variable name plant of type plant with a capital P, and I hit enter. Now it gets upset because it doesn't know that get serializable extra is returning a plant. So we have to tell it it's returning a plant. I'm going to mouse over get serializable extra and choose add cast to plant. Another option to do the same thing would be to click on get serializable extra, hold Control and press 1. Either way we get the same thing. Now in received result, in the toast, we're going to say received result plus plant, and I'm going to save. Disconnect from the debugger. Additionally, I'm going to go into Java View, and I'm going to go into the plant class, and we're going to see this has a toString method. I'm going to set a breakpoint there. Okay, so a couple things I've done so far. So what we're expecting is that when we click on the plant results screen, it's going to take the plant we selected and return it to the advanced search screen. The advanced search screen is going to find this plant, and oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I need to do a small change here. I put the quotes on the wrong place. The plant search screen is going to receive this plant and put it in a toast. And when we put it in a toast, it's going to show the genus, species, and common name. So let me go ahead and save, and then I'm going to right click and debug this. It might take a moment for the emulator to come up, so I'll go ahead and pause as soon as I get the emulator started. There we go. Now the emulator's up. I'm going to start typing some things. This is the GPS screen where we're just going to say, give a general description of this specific plant that we're seeing, maybe how old it is or where it's planted. Now I'm going to do select a plant. Okay, that's going to take us to the search screen, and we know that the search screen, we might have a couple of breakpoints in there, so we'll play through the breakpoints as needed. Okay, redbud is the name of the plant, and I type that in, and then I hit search. Okay, this is where we're going to see some breakpoints, so I choose yes. I'll go ahead and play through these breakpoints at the moment. Okay, and we'll give it just, it looks like another breakpoint we have. Okay, and then we come up, here's the plant result now. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to take us back to the search screen. So I select Cercis canadensis redbud, and now it's on the OnListItem click. I'm going to step through this. This is where the search results screen notices that we've clicked an item, and it gives us that plant back. You see, if I mouse over, it's our Cercis canadensis redbud. We're putting that in the intent so we can pass this data back to the calling screen. When we choose finish, the result screen will disappear, and it's going to go back and render the search screen, which called the result screen. Okay, so I'll go ahead and choose play, and we'll see the result screen disappear, and the search screen is going to come back up from the back stack. The back stack is what keeps track of these screens. Okay, now what we see is we're in the onActivityResult method of the advanced search activity. So again, advanced search activity called search results. Now we're back to advanced search. Okay, we step over. We're going to see that we're coming from plant results. Okay, and now let me Control M so we can focus on this. And what we're doing now is we're saying, give me back the plant that's associated with this plant result. Okay, and let's mouse over. We should see our friend the redbud, Cercis canadensis redbud. Now we're going to make a toast. I'll play. When we make a toast and we refer to the plant, it's going to actually go to the plant class's toString method, and that's what we'll see on the toast. So I'll play, and I'll quickly go back over to the emulator, and what we should see right at the bottom, it just came up and went away there, is Cercis canadensis redbud. So we're almost home free. All we need to do now is send this back yet one more time to the GPS screen. So let's do that. Let's do that from the GPS screen. I'm going to go back to Java View. We just need to do the exact same thing. So if you're happy with what you've seen so far, you can finish watching the video now, but what I'm going to demonstrate for the next few minutes is actually passing this data back two screens, not just one. So GPS a plant. Okay, let's do the same thing we just did. This will be a good review if nothing else. Instead of start activity, start activity for result. Remember, we have to pass in both an intent and some kind of unique identifier. Okay, if we want, we could actually reuse the identifier from advanced search activity. Uh-oh, where'd it go? And I don't see it right off the bat. Okay, it was advanced search activity, right? And didn't we put the identifier in here? Plant results, right, plant results, advanced, okay. So we can reuse that same identifier. Advanced search activity, plant results. Now why is that mad at me? Oh, okay, well, okay. I thought we made that public, maybe we didn't. Let me go ahead and make that public. Yeah, that's fine, we'll make it public. Okay, and save. That's fine, disconnect. GPS, okay. Now what we're going to need to do, hopefully this should fix it now. I'm going to Control M. We know that we also need to do an onActivityResult. Okay, onAct, Control space, onActivityResult. Okay, once again we're going to say here, if request code equal advanced search activity dot plant results. Okay, boom. Then what we're going to do is we're going to populate one of our labels with the plant results. What do I mean by that? If we go back to the GPS screen, let's see if we can go back gracefully. We have description of a plant. We want to put the plant we searched for here. Okay, I want to put the plant we searched for here. I don't recall the name of that label, so I'm going to save, and we're going to go back and figure out what that is. Okay, 1 second. Okay, refocus here, and we're going to go to Res, and we're going to go to Layout, and Activity GPS Plant, and we want to find out what that label is, if we even have one. Maybe we don't have one. Okay, 1 moment. I see now. Description of the plant is just a label for this field down here. So we are going to need to add some more text views. Let's add a text view, and we'll put it right under latitude and longitude. In this text view, I'm going to change the text to, let's say, new string. And we'll say LBL selected plant. And I'll just say selected plant and then a colon. Okay, and we'll choose OK. And OK, so we're going to make a new label down here that says selected plant. Right next to that, we're going to add another text view to the right of text view 1. That's fine. We're going to edit this ID, and we're going to say TXT selected plant. That'll work. And then we're going to make it blank. Right now it says text view. We're going to edit text, and we're going to change this to just the blank. Okay, now what did we name that? We named that TXT selected plant, I believe. So I'll save. I'll go back to GPS plant. Let's get access to this label I just created. Okay, I'm going to say, we'll do the same thing with find view by ID. Find view control space r.id.txt selected plant. Terminate with a semicolon. Okay, 1 moment. Terminate with a semicolon. And then control 1, assign statement to new field. We'll call the field text view and enter. I shouldn't have called it find view by ID though. I should have called it, let's call it TXT selected plant. And then again down here, TXT selected plant. Boom, there we go. Okay, so we're going to call this the label that contains the description of the selected plant. Okay, TXT selected plant. Now, it doesn't know this TXT selected plant is a text view. Control-Shift-O to organize imports. Find view by ID does not know it's returning a text view. So Control-1, add cast. There we go, and save. Okay, now in the onActivityResult, what we can do is we can change the label of the text view to be the plant that was passed in. Remember, the plant that was passed in through this data attribute. So we're going to say data that get serializable extra. And we'll use our constant again, plant result activity. I don't think it likes I have a capital L there. Dot plant result. Okay. Control-Shift-O, organize imports. Oh, it's plant results activity, isn't it? I keep misspelling that. And save. Okay, Control-1, assign to new, let's make it assign to new field. Okay, and I'm going to tab private plant. Okay, there we go. Probably have some casting issues here. Plant equals, okay, Control-Shift-O, organize imports again, so it knows what plant is. Control-1, add cast. There we go. And save. Getting a little bit closer now. Okay, now txt, what was the name of that text view? txt selected plant. Selected plant dot set text. Okay, and we'll say plant dot toString and save. Okay, set this plant in the text view on the UI. That's fine. Okay. Store the plant as an attribute. Store the plant that the user selected as an attribute. Okay, we're almost there. Just a few more things we need to do. I'm going to go to Advanced Search Activity, and we need to pass the plant from Advanced Search Activity, which is the middle screen, back to the very first screen. The first screen is that is the GPS screen we were just on. So in the onActivityResults, let me take away this toast. This isn't serving us much anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say exactly what we said in the plant results activity. I could even copy and paste it if I wanted. We have our plant. We're just going to do this. PutExtra, result OK, and finish. As a matter of fact, what the heck? Let's go ahead and save some time here. And that's all we need to do to go from the middle screen back to the first screen. We've already gone from the last screen to the middle screen. Now we're going from the middle screen back to the first screen. And I think we're okay. I just need to reference this constant here. Plant results activity dot plant result and save. Remember the value of constants. You can right click, choose references, choose workspace, and see everywhere where this constant is referenced. Okay, it'll give us a quick little pop-up list and show us now it's referenced in 3 places. Okay, in all 3 of our screens. I'm going to choose save, and I'm going to Control M, and this time I'm just going to go ahead and run because I think we've seen this through debug. We have lots of breakpoints already set. I'm going to choose run as Android application. While the application is coming up, I'm going to tell you that the reason why we have focused on returning results from an intent is right now we're using explicit intents where we're navigating within our application. Later we're going to use implicit intents where we call on other features of the Android operating system. And when we use those intents, they might return things. For example, the camera is going to return a picture. The gallery view will return a picture. So we want to get used to being able to call an intent, whether it's within our application or outside of our application, and get data back from it. The less code in our final project, the better. So don't think about writing activities all your own if there might be an activity out there that will do the job for you. Okay, plant name, Redbud. So notice we're going into our 3rd screen here. The goal is when I click on Redbud, it's going to take us all the way back to the first screen and populate the selected plant with Cercis canadensis Redbud. Again, I have debugger turned off for just running. Let me click. Do we go all the way back to the GPS of plant screen? And we sure do. Take a look. There's that new label that I made for us, select plant Cercis canadensis Redbud. We go all the way back to the very first screen, and we take the data all the way back with us, just like the way the real plant places works when I GPS data. Okay, when I GPS data. So again, this will wrap us up for this lecture. Things that we've learned is how to return data from one activity all the way to a previous activity, and even go one more hop if we wish. We also learned that it's a good idea to use constants instead of strings because it's easy to misspell strings. And with constants, we have the ability to right-click, say References, and then Workspace, and see where it's used within the workspace. We know that in our next set of lectures, we're going to start looking at implicit intents, where we can do things like call the camera, call the browser, or call the gallery, and we'll get data back from those. When we get data back, we want to decide how to deal with it, and that's where this onActivityResult is important. Okay, so to start an activity and ask for data back, we're going to call startActivityFOrResult. If we want to receive data from another intent, we're going to have a method overridden called onActivityResult. That's the method that's going to receive the data. And the method signature is important. The request code is the code that was passed in during the startActivityFOrResult. That's that unique identifier that we have up here that was passed in and the startActivityFOrResult. That way, if we have multiple activities that we're calling for result, we'll know which one is returning. Result code just tells us if everything went okay, result okay, and then intent data is any data that was passed back from the calling method. So that'll set us up for now. I'm going to go ahead, stop the video. I'm going to commit this and push it to GitHub. So if you want to see the source, look under GitHub for something like onActivityResult or passing data from one activity to another. As always, I welcome your comments and feedbacks. Thanks for listening.